Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Final Two podcast. Today we have a very special guest, none other than Milwaukee Bucks front office executive and founder of Scouting and Scavenging, Mr. Daniel Marks. Great to have you, Mr. Marks.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Great to have you. Thanks for coming on the show. I mean, such a busy man. Taking some time to come on the Final Two means a lot to us, for real. For real.
For sure. I heard Jose Reyes was going to be here, but he's not here yet. So I was brought on under false pretenses.
Listen, Jose, man, that man is busy. I'm trying to get him on the show too, but with this COVID situation and stuff, I haven't seen him in the bed, but don't worry, that happens. That's funny. Oh, man.
So,
how's everything going?
How's everything been? Seriously. Yeah.
Everything's been good. Just preparing for the draft about a month from Sunday, November 18th. Just doing that and free agency and then trying to stay safe here in Jersey from COVID. I think still got to be careful.
I know.
I like how you just said preparing for it.
Seriously.
I like how you're saying preparing for the draft, doing all this like it's a normal thing. Like that's insane, by the way. That you're like, it's like a normal. Yeah, just praying for the draft, just doing a couple things with the Bucks. Yeah, that's normal. That's exactly what I'm doing at home too.
Yeah. No, I mean it's my 7th year in the NBA, so like the first year for sure, and then the second and third, you're kind of like there are certain moments where you're like kind of pinch yourself, and then there's other times where it just kind of just becomes a routine.
Just happens. Talk to me about that. I mean, you know, that your story is insane. I mean, starting off, so like myself, I'm a manager right now for FDU Knights, and you were a manager as well. I mean, talk about your road from being a manager to now being a front office executive. And if I'm not mistaken, your position is the manager of prospect information. Talk about that journey, please.
Yeah. So, I was a manager at Vanderbilt University from 2009 to 2013, part-time as a freshman, and then full-time my last 3 years. I got an internship with Dime Magazine, which was a basketball magazine based in New York City, after my freshman year. Wrote a story. That was the summer that LeBron went to the Heat, and wrote a story about the Bucks having a good offseason that year and kind of it being underrated because everyone was focused on the Heat. It turned out to not be a great offseason in retrospect, but the story got picked up by the Bucks Twitter account and passed on to their general manager at the time, John Hammond, who had reached out to me. His daughter was my year at his daughter's best friend was my year at Vanderbilt. We had a couple of NBA prospects on our team, so we kind of built up a relationship. I was able to go observe some draft workouts of theirs after my junior year. They called, and a number of other teams called after my junior year to get insight into our players at Vanderbilt and some others from the SEC. And through that, realized like teams are looking to get as much information as possible for the draft. So I put together my own sort of draft book of contact information for high school, college, and AAU coaches for the following year's draft, and some scouting reports on players I had seen and interesting news articles, and sort of sent that around. Had a number of interviews with the Spurs, Hawks, a bunch of G League teams, and then got hired by the Bucks in September of 2013 as an intern and been there ever since.
So you said you were at Vanderbilt. So how was that experience like there, like starting off, like seeing all, I mean, for baseball, that's like literally the kingpin of the College World Series. So.
Yeah. So it was cool. I mean, we were really good my first 3 years. We won the SEC championship my junior year. We beat the Kentucky team in the tournament that had Anthony Davis, Deron Lamb, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Wow.
Marcus.
And didn't they only have two? They only had 2 losses that season.
Yep, Indiana and us.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
That was really cool to be a part of. My senior year, we basically lost our top 7 players from that championship team. So we were about 500, but, you know, made a lot of great friends, still stay in touch. Vanderbilt was a great place to go to school. And that was when our football team was actually good, when James Franklin was the head coach. And then baseball is always competitive, as you mentioned, Oliver. 2 College World Series titles, number 1 draft picks, you know, ton of pros. So it was cool to see that as well.
That's just a
That's
winning
insane. I mean, you
culture
had
right there.
that whole like transaction from freshman year to senior year. I mean, that's awe. That's gotta be you gotta be looking at that and you're just in awe, like witnessing all that in front of you. Not only was your position moving up towards to the executive position, obviously now you're the manager of prospect information, but you also took on a new role, and that's being a founder of a charitable foundation. So really, what inspired you to start up that organization, Scouting and Scavenging, and how long has it been in effect now?
Yeah, so I think when you work in sports and you can kind of get caught up in trying to move up and how can I get this position? What can I do to break in? And then once you're in, what can I do to get here? What can I do to be on the road
Yeah.
more? What can I do to make more connections? And then it's like you kind of realize like you're advancing in your career, but you're not always like super fulfilled because it's all professional accomplishments. And I wanted to do something to give back and find a way to do that. And I had seen a tweet, and I still don't know who wrote this tweet. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I could have sworn it was Ian O'Connor, who's a writer for ESPN. But I reached out to Ian, and he says he never tweeted it. So I'm still looking for the person who tweeted it. But they said they traveled and covered the Yankees and collected unused hotel toiletries from their travels to donate to a homeless shelter at the end of the season. And I was like, oh, that's like a neat idea. But it's one of those things you're just like, oh, that's cool. You read a story and then you just move on. And then for whatever reason, I was just in Vegas this year for the G League Showcase in December of 2019. And I was like, you know what, I should start doing this myself and like collecting myself. And then I was like, you know what, I've made a lot of contacts in the G League and college and NBA. Why don't I try to get some other people to do it? Started an Instagram page, got people participating. Fast forward to March, COVID hits New Jersey as hard as anywhere other than New York City in the country. Had people send me their supplies they had collected, had some hotels donate, had a one-time fundraiser, and then we were able to distribute 2,100 full toiletry kits, shampoo, soap, lotion, body wash, toothpaste, toothbrush to residents in Newark, New Jersey in June.
Round of applause. Round of applause for that one right there from the final
That's
two.
a
Oh,
lot.
man.
That is not only a lot of dedication, but the amount of hard work you're putting in and all those events and all those actions that you made is truly phenomenal. I mean, I want to say that we took the pledge, spoke with you last night about it, and we're going to do the same thing because I'm always traveling with the team as in regards to going to different hotels. So I will be helping and part of that, and Oliver as well. And we just want to say thank you for having us join.
No, for sure. And I appreciate you guys coming to support. And we were able to, through our partnership in Newark, we volunteered every Wednesday after our initial event. And Greg Horrenda, who you work for, Sal, has been unbelievable. He is as good of a guy in this industry as I've found. You know, you have a lot of people who say, oh, if you ever need anything, give me a call. And then you call them and it's like, oh, did you change your number? Where'd you go? But Greg showed up every Wednesday, brought, the women's coach, baseball coach, Rob DeToma, softball coach, Chris Foy was out there, Ann Zumala and some of her staff, athletic director, Bradford Hurlbut was out there one Wednesday. So he was on it, took the pledge, has been all in, and you work for a really, really good guy.
You know what, too? I like the same thing we had Seth Greenberg on the show, and he was saying that no matter how big you get, you always have to give back. And I'm going to ask you the same exact question. How did you stay true to yourself still to give back? Because a lot of people say, I'm going to give back when I become successful or whatever, but they don't. How did you stay true and I'm still going to give back exactly how I promised?
Yeah, so it was, my parents growing up, like I'd seen them give back to their community. My dad is actually a lawyer for Holocaust survivors. He represents them in pension claims against the German government for the work that they did in the slave labor camps and the concentration camps. So I, from a young age, kind of was taught about what it means to help others and help those less fortunate. And he basically was high-powered lawyer in Washington, D.C. had worked on for a congressman from California, and then took on this case pro bono and won the case. And then all of these other Holocaust survivors started reaching out to him, and he opened his own law practice, and he's been doing that for 25 years now. And then just being involved, my parents were always involved in the community, the school board, our local synagogue, grandparents, same thing. Like that was instilled in me from a young age. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, there was a part of me that became kind of so consumed with chasing professional success and professional goals that I lost a little bit of that in myself. Especially 2 years ago, I was a director of operations for our G League team, and we were 12-38. And like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Like didn't perform on the court. We had like 5 different flights get canceled in 1 month. Like travel was a nightmare. We had 27 players come through our roster, which was the most in the league. So dealing with the logistics of all that. And it was like, I wasn't happy personally, like my relationships with my family, with my girlfriend at the time, my coworkers all kind of suffered. So after that experience, I kind of was like, you know what, I need to be more balanced. I want to find more balance, and was seeking something. And then this idea kind of came and was able to fulfill that aspect that I've always had in me, but I had kind of neglected. And now it's like doing this and building these relationships and meeting the people that I've been able to meet through scouting and scavenging has not only been a great way to give back and help others, but it also has helped me professionally be better at my job, because now I'm more centered, I'm more focused. And it allows me to enjoy the job and realize how lucky I am to be able to do what I do.
How hard was it to get that balance though? Because you say that you needed it, but it takes time. I mean, at first you're doing all this to get to that next step of the ladder, working your butt off, and then you realize, hold up, but I also need to enjoy my life. So how hard was that though to realize that?
Yeah, so that last year, that 18-19 season, I had no balance. My balance was the scale continuing to trend in the upward direction because I was eating everything in sight to just try to deal with the stress. So in Wisconsin, you've got custard and fried cheese, and there was no shortage of unhealthy options for me to indulge in. So I kind of realized like that's not the best way to deal with the stress and deal with it. So, I think working out, taking time to do things for yourself. Like I'm a big believer in you don't have to work 12 hours a day to show that you're working hard. If you can get something done in 6 hours and then use those other 6 hours to enjoy yourself, don't take 12 hours just for the sake of saying you work 12 hours. Like I hate that. And I think
I love that.
I love that.
It's kind of the same thing when writing scouting reports. Like when I first started writing scouting reports, I'm like, man, I need to write the longest, most detailed scouting reports. And then it's like the audience for a scouting report is your director of scouting, your assistant GM, your GM, and they're getting hundreds of phone calls, emails, text messages a day. So if they see a 3-page scouting report from me, they're going to be like, oh, this is too long and I don't have time to read it. So you have to be concise in how you communicate the information in that way. And then that's what I try to do. Like and during COVID, kind of the same thing. Like I'll say, like, I'm going to really work hard for these 3 hours. And then, I'm going to go read a book. Or we hosted some webinars on different topics during COVID through scouting and scavenging, which were great. And, doing something like this with you guys or volunteering each Wednesday, I think you can, I think there's a common misperception that, you have to, and look, there are people who give up everything and throw themselves into their work and they're happy without that other stuff in their life. That's not me.
So do you feel like it's because of your age now? Because for example, for us being like starting off now, isn't that time span you have to in the beginning do whatever it needs to do to get the ball rolling and then you kind of let off a little bit? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like when you're young, you're trying to prove yourself. I'll do whatever it takes. I get calls. I'll work for free. I'll scrub the floors. And I was making the same calls.
Literally.
And then, I always tell people, like, do whatever job you're asked to do first. So if you're told to fill the coffee, make sure the coffee is always filled, because if they can't trust you to fill the coffee machine, then how are they going to trust you to take notes on a trade discussion? So build that trust with what you're asked to do, and then gradually they'll come more. And there's times where you're frustrated, like, man, I could be doing more, or man, this isn't that stimulating, or I'm bored, or why did I take this $15,000 internship when I had an offer in finance for 65? Like, you're gonna question your career choice, and probably the case in any industry, but this one in sports, the supply of jobs, and now that COVID has hit, the supply is so much less than the demand for people that want to work in sports. And I think you have to work hard. You have to have that mindset, and be willing. You're on call a lot, and you have to be willing to answer the phone and do things at odd hours. But I personally am a believer that you're a more productive, better worker if you have that balance, because if you're just staring at a screen, trying to do everything, you can just kind of wear yourself out.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a great key advice that you gave, especially. It's all about prioritizing your time, what you're doing, making sure, like you said, what they're giving you, your tasks are the first to be done. So actually, I was going to go into that. I mean, you were working it from a manager at Vanderbilt, and now you worked all the way up. You got denied a couple of internships, but now you got that position with Milwaukee. Bring me through that first day on the job, what that was like.
So there was a couple of moments for me that kind of like were like pinch yourself moments. So first day, obviously, like walking into an NBA facility as an intern, and like, I had a desk in an old storage closet with a computer that the Wi-Fi was so slow, I had to work at someone else's desk on their computer for the first like week or two.
You in there? My God.
Yeah, man, it was me and our analytics guy were working. It was a converted like storage closet for old like VHS and DVD tapes of like old games. Down the shelves, and so that was cool. The first draft I was a part of, we drafted Jabari Parker with the second pick.
Jabari, I remember that draft.
Yeah,
I love
being
that guy.
in the room for that was really neat. My first week on the job, I had to house sit for Giannis when the cable guy came.
Get out of here.
Giannis was a rookie at the time, so nobody knew he was going to be this good, but I was there at like 8:30, and it was like the cable guy says, we'll come between 10 and 4.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
so it was my
Dan,
first
if you don't
week.
mind.
I didn't know any restaurants. They told me don't leave, just stay in his apartment. So I was starving at like 3:00.
Oh my goodness.
So I go into his pantry and like take like 3 Oreos. And then the next day he comes up to me. He's like, hey Dan, did you eat my Oreos? I'm like, no. And then
Dan, if you don't mind, what is it like just standing in front of this behemoth? We're talking about a 7-foot Greek god. What is that? What is that like? Just sitting.
This was like 45 pounds of muscle.
Less, yeah.
He was a rookie, so he was really skinny and lanky at that point. But it was like I was like shocked. But he grew up poor in Greece, and his family, they had to. It was you get 4 cookies, your brother gets 4 cookies, and your other brother, so he would count how many cookies there were, because that was how he grew up. So that's how he knew that I had taken three cookies from his thing.
Oh my God.
Anytime Giannis sees me, the first thing he says is, "That's the man that stole my Oreos." 7 years later, and that's all he remembers me about.
So what time did the cable guy end up coming?
He got there. I was there till like 4:30.
He didn't make the 10 to 4 cut? Jesus Christ.
Well, he got there before 4, but by the time he finished, it was.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's insane.
What a man. What a man.
Who could make that up? Like, you just stole Giannis's Oreos. And now
So
you're good friends with. That's awesome.
Since these guys are so tall and lengthy, is their house humongous? Like, they can't have a ceiling in their house. Am I wrong here?
No, they do. I mean, he had a regular apartment condo. They've got, I'm sure his house now, I haven't been to. He has a house in the suburbs, so he's upgraded.
A little bit, right? Just a little bit upgrade.
Yeah.
Mansion.
That's insane. I mean,
Man,
like,
man.
thinking about that, like, you're making friends with players like Giannis. I'm sure other stars in the league that are, familiar faces. But listen, for myself, I mean, I was a huge LeBron fan. I still am, of course. But growing up, I was a Jason Kidd
Jersey
fan.
doesn't
I
give
mean,
it
I'm
away or
from,
anything.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
it's not
from New
like
Jersey. I
I'm a
know. I got
LeBron
LeBron
fan. I
there.
just
I
want to let you
got
know
to.
I'm a LeBron fan with like a jersey literally hanging right there.
I'm a LeBron fan. Come on, man. The king. Personally, we'll not debate about it, but I consider him one of the greatest
Here we
again.
go.
Anyways, though, growing up, I will say, though, I was a big Jason Kidd fan. I grew up, my family's huge diehard Nets fans when they were, of course, when they were in New Jersey. Now, I asked that because you were a big, doing research on you, you were a big Jason Kidd fan growing up. And you were working with him. I mean, he was the head coach at the time at Milwaukee. So what was that like? Kind of like meeting your idol and having conversations with him. And something that struck out was, he surprised you at your birthday event. Talk about that.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I was a diehard Nets fan. Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, Kerry Kittles, Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson,
New
Nenad
Jersey
Kristic,
icons.
Jason Collins, Lucius
Icons.
Harris, all those guys in the mid 2000s. And I invited Jason to my birthday party one year. I'd sent him a letter when I was like 10 or 11 and didn't respond, obviously. My mom had kept a copy of the letter, and they had come out to Milwaukee for a weekend. There's a concert series in Milwaukee called Summerfest after my intern year. And my mom gives me this letter. It's a Saturday. And she's like, oh, isn't this cool? Like, you used to write letters to NBA players and now you're working in the NBA. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And then like 10 hours later, there's breaking news, like Jason Kidd to be named new head coach of the Bucks. And I was like, what? Like that was like that she had like brought that letter. And then, so, that Monday I was talking to our general manager, and there was a lot of stuff that went on, behind the scenes about that hiring. But instead, it's crazy. My mom brought this letter in that I had written to Jay, and he's like, oh, you got to show him. So a few months later, I showed him that letter. I was really nervous. Like, he signed it, have it framed. And we were able to establish a good relationship, and, really happy for him that he won a championship as assistant coach with the Lakers. And with my birthday, that first birthday after he got hired, my mom sent a cake, and she's like, it said you invited Jason Kidd to your birthday 14 years ago. Now he can show up. And took a picture, and I put it on Instagram, and it got picked up by like SI, Mike and Mike in the Morning had like a little
Wow.
on it.
Huge.
That's
ESPN.
amazing.
Yeah, Sports Center tweeted about it. So that was really cool.
So is that the moment you said to yourself, I made it? Like I accomplished what I wanted to in life. Now it's time to double dip it? Or was it like,
No, that was pretty cool. I mean, it was cool like that it went viral. I would say the cooler part was like the first time when I handed him the letter, because I had only shaken his hand once before. So that was, and then kind of, as I got to know him, it just became sort of like normal. Oh, he's the coach, and you see him. Good morning, coach. How you doing? Morning, Daniel. How you doing? See him in the cafeteria, all that stuff. So it became sort of, I don't want to say like a normal, like, oh, we're hanging out together.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
But like as normal as like your childhood idol and you could have a relationship.
Isn't it crazy how like these people are normal people? Like you see them as like superstars growing up. You see them on television. You feel like they're untouchable. But once you're next to them, it's like, wow, this guy is just like me. 2 legs, 2 arms, just
Seriously.
the same guy. So,
And when we had Seth Greenberg yesterday, I mean, for once, I've watched ESPN since I was a little kid, man. And watching all the college game days, every Saturday morning, whether it be college football, college basketball, I was always seeing Seth Greenberg for college basketball. And, having him on earlier in the week, I mean, it was just like, you were just talking to anybody like you normally would. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And you could just say that I spoke with Seth Greenberg. He's a nice guy, down to earth, all that. It's really cool. And especially in your case, meeting Jason Kidd, that's awesome. Just, being cool with him. You Can't
Yeah,
write
no,
up.
I mean it is, there's and there's certain players like when you see them where you're like kind of in awe, Kareem
Yeah,
has come around, Oscar Robertson,
the greats.
I- you
Wow.
know, Julius Irving, I was at the Hall of Fame and met him, like
Wow.
certain guys, and even, LeBron, and he's like, Kobe when he played his last game in Milwaukee and was around, like there's certain guys that you're kind of like still a little goosebumps when you see them or get to
God.
shake
It
their
was.
hand.
I have a crazy story because one day I was working out with Jose, and we're obviously Jose Reyes is whatever, like big time guy. So we're working out, and Carlos Gomez comes in. Like as a Dominican baseball player, you grew up watching these guys, and he walks in the weight room we're working out. He's like, "What's up, bro?" He's like, "Oh, it's my friend Oliver." And he's like, "What's up?" And he's like chilling there. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "Oh my god, how did I not go fan crazy right now?" Yeah, what's up, Bali? How you doing? Nice to meet you. With his hands like this huge. I'm like, hey, how you doing, brother? Like chilling there, and you're just like, oh my god, like I don't know. I just had to share that story. I don't
Yeah, no, for sure. There are certain people that,
know. It's
get that feeling with.
Seriously.
I know it's just
Seriously.
crazy. Keep going,
Oh,
Sal.
continue. What
Sorry.
were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna
No,
say
you good.
we were at another event together, and all of a sudden Cano and Rosario pull up, and they come in, and I'm just like I didn't even go say hi to them because I was like, I don't want to act like the fan guy. Like they're all hanging out and stuff like that. I'm gonna go over there and be like a fangirl. Like I was like, no, I'm like fine, but it's just crazy to actually know these people are normal people. They're just like us, and I don't know. Yeah,
That's awesome. Seriously, and it goes along for anybody in the world that you know put into situations that we're in. It's just like they're gonna have that big title. They're gonna look like you just said, Ali, like untouchable on TV. I'm sure people like LeBron, KD, or anybody that you would meet that you see on TV, everyone slanders them. They're probably down to earth and like nice people. And I'm sure Jason Kidd, of course, one of them. Cool story. I mean, also like I saw Jason Kidd. I was like what 4 or 5 years old, and my parents bumped into him on the highway. He was driving behind us. We were stuck in traffic. He was just like waving at us. What's up? How you guys doing? My mom's like freaking out. Jason Kidd. Like we were just going crazy. But again, going back, like you started your first day, you're meeting all these people. You're meeting the greats, like you just mentioned. I mean, what is your routine like now? Moving forward, I mean, especially you could talk about it pre-COVID, and you could also talk about what it was like with the bubble.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, I was not in the bubble, so nothing changed
Mm-hmm.
when the team was down there. I mean, COVID. I've been working remote this whole year, so I've been based in New Jersey here. So, my routine. I wouldn't say I have like a typical routine because kind of it just depends on what John needs or what our scouting department needs, or our G League general manager, Dave Dean, what they need on a day-to-day
mm,
basis. I have sort of some overarching stuff like scouting reports and intel stuff to do generally, but like in terms of a specific wake up, do XYZ, then do ABC, like that, it doesn't really work like that in the industry.
which is
Like I
good.
think
Mm-hmm.
the only certainty I say is uncertainty. Like,
Mm.
every day, like especially when I was in the G League, like I could say, all right, I need to get ABC done, and then our player gets hurt, and it's like, okay, now we got to go get him an MRI, and then the day comes, and it's like, well, I got half of A done. What did I do today? But it's like you have to kind of just prioritize and put out fires and figure out what's most important to get done at a given time.
Is doesn't that make the job cool though? That every day there's something like different. That it's like you
Something
said, it's not an A B
spontaneous, right?
C D day. It's like you never know what the next day could hold, and it could be completely different than what you did the day before.
Yeah, no, it definitely does make it cool. I mean, there are certain times where you're like, would want more stability, like, at times, but it's not. I do enjoy that kind of unpredictability of it.
Hmm.
It's a cool. That's a
So I
cool
mean,
job.
Ali, he's accomplished so many goals throughout his career. I mean, which one would you think stuck out to you the most? Stood out to you the most?
Well, that's a
Like as
great
far
question.
as. Hmm.
Um, I've always wanted to work in sports, realized pretty quickly it wasn't going to be getting paid as an athlete. So thought maybe on the media side or on the team side, ended up kind of going into the team side. I think less like what I've accomplished personally and more just the people that I've gotten to meet through
Mm.
this, the relationships I've been able to build, whether it's at Vanderbilt or with the Bucks. Because it's cool to like say, oh, I scouted this player for our G League team and he became, an all league player. Like that's really cool. But like the memories, of you get from taking a 6-hour road trip or, being in meetings with people and playing basketball at midnight after the NBA draft with your staff as a kind of way to unwind. And
Wait, I didn't even know that was a thing. You
How
guys do
is
that?
that? How is that? Yeah, like let's go
Hold
play
on, you're
pickup
playing in
after.
an hold on, you playing in an empty arena? Like the arena?
No. Just at our practice facility, like a lot of times after
Okay.
the draft is over because we put in so much work and like,
Yeah,
just kind
That's
of a
so
way to
cool.
blow off steam.
that's awesome.
That's awesome, man. I like how you say it so casually. Yeah, after the draft, we just go play pickup after. Yeah.
Come on,
After I
man.
watch
7
my
years
TV
that
show, I just go to bed.
put in 7 years of hard work in the NBA. I mean,
It's amazing.
you're perfecting it. And you're on. Not only are you doing that, I mean, you're working with the G League as well, like as you mentioned, and you have your own charity foundation. I mean, this is
Yeah, I
damn.
mean,
Like,
if I had to say, like one of the things, like the being able to distribute those toiletries, especially during COVID, I mean, that was as rewarding of a day as I've had professionally and personally.
Love that.
We had a lot of college coaches come out: Steve Peichel from Rutgers, Greg Herenda, Mitch Henderson and Carla Baroud from Princeton, Tony Bozzella from Seton Hall, Joe Loughran from Rutgers Newark, Jeff Rafferty, Matt Laughlin from WFA Radio. A lot of people came out to support, which was really cool to see. Tony Skinn and Dwayne Woodward, assistants at Seton Hall. So that was really cool to see and be able to give back. And the mayor of Newark came and addressed our group for a few minutes.
That's amazing.
what
So
an
that's
accomplishment.
cool. And I'd say honestly, like for me, like the gratitude, like the guy that was our intern with the Herd for the 2 seasons I was there. His name's Mike Newton, and Mike started out and he was struggling. Got kind of thrown into the fire. Wasn't necessarily ready. We had kind of a tough situation. Our arena was still being built. We didn't have an office. We were kind of working out of our apartments in the local YMCA. There was some bumps in the road between the two of us, and I wasn't kind of mentoring him and teaching him kind of what the expectations were, and we just didn't have a great relationship those 2 months, and we kind of had to sit down right around Christmas. And I said, hey, what do you want to get out of this? What am I doing well? What am I doing wrong? Kind of told him to do the same thing. We kind of talked about it. Our relationship grew from there. He came back for a second year, did a really good job. I kind of told him, hey man, it's a 2-year internship. Like you got to this year use it to network, meet people. He would let other teams in for shoot around. He did that with the Santa Cruz Warriors, was able to establish a relationship with their then assistant GM, Ryan Atkinson. Ryan became the GM last summer of Santa Cruz and hired Mike in a full-time role. And then through that, he was also able to become the coach of their 2K esports team.
Shoot.
And he the team made the finals of the esport NBA 2K league this year. So for me, like those types of things, seeing like Mike from where he started to now, being on ESPN coaching his 2K team, like that's where I get the most gratitude. Like that's really cool for me.
That's crazy that you say that, because especially like you were just talking about the different avenues that he's went through, and now he's at 2K. I mean, we spoke to 2K players from the Nets and the Hawks.
They were on the show.
I would love to be in contact with him, especially talking about like how he was able to work with you and then somehow all the way get to the 2K Sports League. That's insane, that avenue and that road. I mean,
is that something that interests you, by the way?
Friends like that?
No, I mean, I haven't played 2K in like a year and a half.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I played a lot in college. Like my game was NCAA football. Like I loved
big throwback.
basketball. That those obviously because of likeness and the NCAA stuff that aren't available anymore. But, I used to play with Boise State was my team, and Kellen Moore was the quarterback. But we had battles in the dorms with those games and 2K2, but kind of haven't played as much. I've gotten more into like if I'm my free time watching movies or reading.
Yeah,
Reading. So
yeah,
go ahead, Ollie. You got it. Now you got it.
No. I kind of before we even get to like, I was gonna ask you about books, but I kind of want to get your take because you're a big basketball guy. What you thought of The Last Dance? Like, what did you think of Michael Jordan telling his story in that way?
So, I mean, it was really cool just as a basketball fan to see that and see all of those people from basketball history talk about Michael and what he was like as a teammate, as a competitor, as a person, as a player. It was a really neat thing. Obviously, there was some controversy because he had to like get final approval on like what was put in and said in the documentary. So some people were like, oh, it was too, nice of a portrayal to like, but at the end of the day, like I'm not going to debate any of that. I was just really enjoyable to see all of that old footage and grateful that they released it during COVID. It was definitely something to look forward to in the early months.
Yeah, everybody.
I have to agree. Like with the debating, like whenever it's like I'll speak with somebody about it, they'll bring it up in the topic, like because sometimes we'll see it on ESPN talking about LeBron's fourth ring. Is he how small is the gap now and all that. Personally, I feel like it's just all opinionated. I mean, statistics shows who's better, who's not. Personally, I love LeBron. That's just my guy.
You know who he's picking.
But listen. The thing is, though, I feel like when it comes to the debate, I'm sure both of you guys can agree, it always gets negative. I feel like I get too negative when it comes to that. Like with the passing of Kobe, God rest his soul, what a legend. He said it best, and when it came to a certain podcast or show he was on, he feels like, debating is just, it's too judgmental, like just enjoy what's in front of you. We're witnessing greatness. We truly are. And
I agree with that. And I think debating's fun and all, but I think you can get so caught up in, oh, well,
seriously,
he didn't do this, that, or the other, and MJ did, or, whatever, back and forth. Like, what he's done, what MJ's done, what a lot of great players in their careers have done. Like it's, just appreciate that you get a chance to watch athletes who are this special.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I always say this too. I'm like, they're always evolving. So like Kobe Bryant says it, he goes, there's no me without Michael Jordan. Like Michael Jordan is the one that kind of like I learned from. So it's like, you got to understand that there's an evolution of play that are just going to get better and better. But thank God to our founding fathers that led that to that point. So I don't think debating is like who's better, who's not. Let's just enjoy and watch this guy play and just be all great. Like they're all great. Congratulations. Like just enjoy watching it. That's what I feel personally.
Seriously.
I agree with that.
But before we let you go, I want to ask you personally, like what type of books would you recommend to our audience, to us, that set you apart from the others?
Books or Bucks?
Books.
Okay, I'm like, what? What do you want me to recommend?
Sorry, this Dominican accent. I'm sorry.
Say Dominican accent.
So I'm a huge reader. Like I love to read. I'll go on Twitter and favorite articles throughout the day and then read them before I go to bed at night. I'm a big book. I've read a ton of books during COVID. I'm not like a huge like self-help, like, here's how to be the best in business guy. I read those articles and there's, good stuff there. I'm a history junkie, so I like reading history about civil. My favorite book of all time is Hellhound on His Trail, about the assassination of Martin Luther King and the search for his killer. That was so the civil rights era has always fascinated me. I've read a number of books about that. Nelson DeMille and John Grisham are two of my favorite fiction authors. Reading sports biographies. I really like, I've definitely read some books about the current president that have come out. Had to see what all the gossip was about. But I think it's not like, people always say like, oh, what books can I read to get better? And there are books you can read to get better and improve. And there's articles that I read and I'm like, wow. I mean, Scouting and Scavenging was the genesis of a tweet, that I saw. So there is merit to that. And people that do that and highlight articles and stuff, I think that's great. When I read personally, it's more to learn about a topic I'm interested in and relax. I think too much in this industry, like I catch myself refreshing my emails, refreshing our scouting database, refreshing texts, or watching film and just staring at a screen. And it becomes just,
It's like an addiction, really.
yeah, it is an
Seriously.
addiction. And there was that Netflix documentary that just came out, The Social Dilemma, about, social media use. And it's great. Like, I love being on Twitter. I enjoy following certain people on Twitter more than others. But
Mhm.
I use books as like, I'm going to put my phone down and not look
Yeah.
2 hours and just sit and read, or go in the pool and sit by the pool and read. Like, that's
Great
why
relief.
reading.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome, man.
Man.
Show. I love this. I love this conversation we had with you, Mr. Marks. This was awesome.
We could sit here all day and talk to you.
Seriously. You
Man.
do have, of course, plans ahead of today. So we definitely want to, be respectful of your time. And again, we thank you so much for coming on the show. Seriously. What an honor.
Round of applause.
Round of applause. Seriously. This was a pleasure. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this was the Final Two Podcast. Thank you so much, Mr. Marks.